What's going on YouTube? Going to do a quick update on the Civivi button lock knives, which I have been carrying for the better part of 2 months. On rotation, probably one of these three knives has left the house with me. I don't think I've carried anything else. Maybe I threw an Osborne in my pocket a couple of times, but that's what we're going to talk about. We got the Civivi Elementum button lock, with the Civivi Chevalier button lock, and the Civivi Conspirator. Of the three, I believe the Elementum is probably my favorite. It's the one that leaves the house with me the most often, and I've actually purchased two of these knives, and I like them both. The Chevalier is probably my least favorite, and we'll get into why on all of that. Starting with the Elementum, what do I like about it? Well, I think it's about the perfect size. It fits in your hand real nice. I love the handle shape. I love how it feels. I think the blade length is about perfect. It's as much blade as you could probably ask for, and yet it's not too much. It's not like, because the knife is so thin and long, it feels like you got a whole lot of blade and you're really not carrying too much extra. The things I don't like about it are these micarta scales. I really wish they would have went with G10. I probably would have even preferred FRN. These things get dirty, they're hard to clean. I can't get the dirt off of them no matter what, and even if you do get the dirt off of them, they don't look as good as new ever. They're never going to look as good as new again after you stick this in your pocket 200-300 times. It's just not going to happen. The other downside, which is a downside to all of these knives, not just the button lock Elementum, is the pocket clip. These things come loose. I've Loctited one of them, but the Chevalier, which I've carried the least out of all of them, is loose. Look at that. That's just what's going to happen with this pocket clip. If that's a big problem for you, then maybe just avoid this entire knife brand or knife lineup, knife land, whatever. Avoid all three of these knives if this pocket clip's a killer for you. But you know, they got some aftermarket stuff. I just think it's kind of stupid to put an aftermarket high quality pocket clip on a knife that is like 60 bucks. I think I paid 60 bucks for this Elementum, and the other ones ain't much more. Anyway, in terms of blade steel, 14C28N, 14C28N, and Nitro V, they're basically the same steel. Performance has been basically the same. I haven't noticed a difference between either of them. They're all stone washed. I think this one's got a little bit extra vanadium in it. The only thing I will say is that the Conspirator actually rusted in one of these fullers, and that's it. That's pretty much all I got to say. I don't know why it rusted. Maybe I got some water on it, didn't, whatever. Maybe I got some thumb sweat on it, some finger stuff. I don't really know. Something got in there and it rusted on one of these fullers. I took some Flitz, you know, that Flitz metal cleaner, whatever, and it cleaned right off. And so it was like surface rust, not very deep, not a big deal, and everything was cool. The Chevalier is my probably least favorite of the bunch, and it's pretty much just personal preference stuff. It's a little bit square in the handle, although it does carry more or less the same profile as the Elementum, so you'd think I'd like it more. I don't. The button is kind of more difficult to press. It doesn't stick up as much as the Conspirator button is. You see how that kind of like, that's above the scale just a little bit? Well, with the Chevalier, they made it flush, and just that little bit of difference kind of makes it a little bit annoying to press. Like, I don't know, just not much depth to the button, so when you press it, it doesn't push down much, and it just, I don't know, it's not a big deal. It's just something I don't like. Pocket clip on this one won't stay tight no matter what I do with it. I don't know why. Other than that, this one's pretty okay. The fuller on this one's a little thin, so if I'm going to use the fuller to open it, it's not as nice. It's something about sticking your fingernail in that fuller is not super comfortable. It's like nails on a chalkboard or something. Whereas the Conspirator is a nice big fuller. When I stick my finger in there, the pad, the meat goes in there with it. Doesn't really bother me as much for something that feels natural, and for this one it doesn't. I don't like sticking my finger in there, and pushing with your thumb on either of these knives is kind of a pain in the ass. It just doesn't want to go super easy. It's not like a thumb stud. You can get it to go, and if you got the technique, you can get it to go, but it's not convenient on any of these knives to open them with your thumb. It's possible. It's just not convenient in my experience. Anyway, And then we come down to the Conspirator, which I think is probably one of the most fun fidget knives that I don't know what it is, but something about it. It's the weight. I don't know. This thing's a fun fidgeter. I can open it just about any way. I really like the Conspirator, and I think if it weren't for the fidgetiness of it, it probably wouldn't be really any higher on this list than the Chevalier. This one is a big knife. When I stick it in my pocket, I notice that I got it on me. Other than that, I really don't dislike anything about it. I love the blade shape. I've used this one enough to need to resharpen it, and as well as this one. I've resharpened both of these. This one I don't think I carried ever enough to need to resharpen it, but the Conspirator is, I don't know, I got a really nice one on smooth. It just wants to be played with, so I don't know, man. I like this one a lot. It mostly because it just fits in my hand, and I really like fidgeting with it, and I find myself at the table fidgeting with it a lot more than probably the rest of these. In terms of use, though, I like the Elementum, and for some reason, the Chevalier just didn't connect with me. I don't know why. It's nothing against this particular design. If you've been looking at it, it's a little bit more square in the handle. These ones feel nicer to me in the handle. It's just that button is probably the biggest issue that I had with it, but it's really not that big a deal. If you like it, like it. But that's pretty much my update on it, man. Not much else to say. I like these two. I still carry them. The buttons on these Elementums do get sticky after a while. I haven't really figured out a fix for that, but it doesn't bother me that much, other than you can kind of hear that extra noise as I open it. Clicky, 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 clicky. That's pretty much coming from that Elementum button. I don't know what all three of them have kind of a different recess and a different type of button, but the Elementum one is the only one that really sticks. The rest of them I've opened and closed 1,000 times, and they're much nicer, much less stick. But that's the gist of it. If it were me, if I was going to buy one and I didn't have any of three of them, I'd start with this one. It's my favorite user. This one's my favorite fidgeter, and this one, I could have wished. I kind of don't care to own this one. But if you like it, man. If you got something to say about it, let me know in the comments, and if you don't, then well, don't. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.